Stress may be affecting your health, even though you might not realize it. Stress hormones trigger your body's fight or flight response. Your heart races, your breath quickens, and your muscles get ready for action. This response was designed to protect your body in an emergency by preparing you to react quickly. But when the stress response keeps firing day after day, it could be putting your health at serious risk. Chronic stress is a factor in behaviors such as overeating or not eating enough, alcohol or drug abuse. Some of the symptoms include irritability, anxiety, depression, headaches, and insomnia.
This is Performance Theory with Mike Clark.
Today on the show, we have chiropractic intern Jamie Laing to talk about the underlying causes or stressors that contribute to the nerve interference that contribute to many of the aches, pains, and dysfunctions that we experience. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Hi.
I've actually known Jamie for quite a few years because she actually worked at our studio as a personal trainer for about 2 years. But Jamie, let's take it back way before that. How did you get involved in the world of chiropractic? What got you interested in it to start with?
My chiropractic story is actually a long one, but I'll summarize it real quick. I am a horseback rider, and I was riding a horse, and a chiropractor actually reached out to my trainer asking if she could practice adjusting my horse. And of course, my trainer said absolutely. And that just blew my mind that horses could get adjusted. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. If an animal can get adjusted and I see the difference, like it works, it has to. At that time, I had been under chiropractic care due to an injury, but I just didn't quite understand chiropractic. And that was that eye-opening moment. Turns out that chiropractor that was adjusting my horse was the sister of the chiropractor that I was seeing. So I was able to actually reach out to them. And at this time I was 14, so they decided to hire me as a chiropractic assistant. So I worked at the front desk, helping with taking payment, answering phone calls, filing, charting, all that stuff. And so as I basically grew up working in this practice, I learned more and more about what chiropractic was and seeing the miracles that were walking into the office every single day. It just felt right. Like, this is what I have to do. And I mean, I sat on the fence for a while. It's a long process, but it was worth every single minute. And I'm so grateful that I did it.
What was the hardest part going through school? Because it's 3.5 years?
Yeah. So it's a 4-year program, and I went through the condensed program. So we went year round. And honestly, it's a very rigorous program. We are in class easily 8 hours a day. And then once we get to a certain point in our education, we become chiropractic interns, and we're in clinic and we're seeing patients. I think the most difficult part for me was when I got to start seeing patients. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to help people. And so going back to class and having to sit in class and learn was very difficult. Currently, right now, I'm still in online classes, but I'm working preceptoring at White Mud Crossing Chiropractors, and it's really hard for me to force myself to sit down and do my homework.
I imagine, because once you've had that little taste of what you're going to be doing and what you're passionate about, it's a little hard to take that step back and go back to studying or go back to the basics. In your experience so far as a chiropractic assistant and now as a chiropractic intern, are you seeing a lot of people walking into the office stressed out?
Absolutely. I see people coming in that are stressed all the time, and it's a really cool conversation to have with them about what's going on. So actually what I'd like to do is start off by talking about how intelligent the body is. So as a chiropractor, we like to think about the body and how it's self-regulating and self-healing. So one example that I always use when I'm talking to a patient about how smart the body is, I talk to them about if they've ever cut themselves. Most people have had a paper cut, or they've fallen and scraped their knee at some point in their life. And what we tend to do is actually just put a Band-Aid on it, and a week or two later, we take the Band-Aid off and it's completely healed. Now, we didn't have to just sit there and tell the body what to do to heal that cut. We didn't have to, when we got the cut, sit there and say, okay, I need blood to flow to this area and bleed, 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 so that we can clear out the cut of any pathogens that we might have encountered. Now we need to create a clot. We are going to take all the red blood cells, we're going to aggregate them together, and we're going to make a clot and scab the area. Okay, once that's done, I need the white blood cells to come into this area, and I need them to clean up the area and make sure that there's no pathogens left. Once that's done, I need the healthy cells on either side of the cut to start to divide and multiply and multiply and multiply and come together to close the cut. Once that's done, we can get rid of the scab and we're good. And poof, we're healed. Now, we don't have to sit there and think about this. The body just does it on its own. We call this innate intelligence. And this is what is so cool about the body, is the power that created the body heals the body. And it's really important that our body be able to adapt in order for us to heal.
What role does the nervous system play in this?
So our nervous system is the master control of our entire body. It tells our body to do every single function. This is called our autonomic nervous system. And it's just that, it's automatic. We don't think about it. This nervous system tells our lungs to breathe, our heart to beat, our stomach to digest our food and to absorb the nutrients that we need to survive. And it also tells our immune system to do the functions to keep us healthy. The autonomic nervous system can be further divided into our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight system, and our parasympathetic system. And this is our rest and digest and our heal nervous system. We're constantly in this sympathetic state. So I want to go a little bit more in depth with the sympathetic nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight. This is the nervous system that kicks in when we need to survive. Basically, our brain and our body thinks that we're running from a lion. Our heart rate increases to pump more blood to our body. Our lungs breathe more deeply to get more oxygen. Our pupils actually dilate so that we can see better. We need to know our surroundings, so we need to see it. And then our blood is actually pumped to different areas of the body. So blood is actually taken from our abdomen, our gut, our core, and it's sent to our legs and our arms, allowing us to have more blood and oxygen so that we can run away from this lion. Now, the parasympathetic nervous system is actually the exact opposite. This is our rest, digest, and our heal nervous system. In this nervous system, when it's on, it does the exact opposite. Our heart rate normalizes, our breathing is calmed, our blood moves away from the extremities to our core and allows us to digest our food. It also allows our immune system to normalize and function properly. Like I said, it's our heal nervous system.
In a perfect world, what state should the body be in?
Now, in a perfect world, we are in a state of parasympathetic, where we're able to rest, digest, and heal, but yet we have short little spurts of sympathetic state. It's really important that these two systems fluctuate, and they won't ever be on at the same time. You can't be in a sympathetic state running from a lion while you're still resting and digesting. It just doesn't work like that. So these systems alternate, and we want to see balance between these two systems, but we want to be heavily in the parasympathetic system. But today's time, we're not. We're in a constant state of sympathetic state. We're stressed about work. We're stressed about family. We're stressed about our financial situation. What I like to break it down is our major stressors are love and money. And this tricks the brain, and the brain actually thinks that we're running from a lion. It can't tell the difference between actually a life and death situation or just stress. So we see that people are in a constant state of sympathetics and not ever in a parasympathetic state.
All right, so Jamie, what are the most common underlying causes that causes subluxation or this stress to happen in the body?
We have 3 T's that we encounter every single day. These are our thoughts, our traumas, and toxins. So thoughts are our everyday state of mind. This is the way that we think. This could be negative or positive thinking. Mostly negative. We're worried about what's happening in the future. We're worried about what happened yesterday. We're worried about other people. We're constantly comparing ourselves, all of that. It's all these things that we think about. The second T is our traumas. Now, when I say traumas, most people think about big traumas, car accidents. They're thinking about sports injuries, anything like that. But little do people think about are these small traumas that we encounter every single day just with our daily routine. So if you work at a desk job, you're sitting at your desk, probably poor posture, poor ergonomics, you're doing the same thing. This is a trauma. Or if you're a laborer, poor lifting mechanics. That's a small trauma that we encounter every single day, and our body just doesn't know what to do. The third T is toxins. This is our everyday surroundings. So it's anything from the outside in. This could be the air that we're breathing, the food that we're consuming, the water we're drinking, and even the personal hygiene products that we're using, such as shampoo, conditioner, all of that stuff. These are toxins that we encounter. So I like to talk about actually a fourth T, and this is threshold. So this is the capacity at which we can encounter thoughts, traumas, toxins. We can integrate it, adapt to it, and heal from it. But going back to those nervous systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, in order to integrate, adapt, and heal from thoughts, traumas, toxins, we have to be in a parasympathetic state. We need to be able to rest, digest, and heal. But what we're finding is that most people are in a sympathetic state most days, and they're unable to integrate, adapt, and heal to thoughts, traumas, toxins. And this is where we see disease, we see illness, we see injuries. We're in a constant state of sympathetic. We are not healthy. We can't be healthy because our body is trying to just survive in that moment. Our body thinks it's running from a lion. So, just to recap, when we're in a parasympathetic state, our threshold to thoughts, traumas, and toxins is increased. We're able to rest, digest, and heal. Whereas if we're in a sympathetic state, our threshold to thoughts, traumas, toxins is decreased because our body is trying to survive and run away from that lion.
Now that we've got these stressors identified, how can we go about fixing this?
As a chiropractic intern, I'm going to obviously say get adjusted. Chiropractors directly work with the brain and the nervous system to create balance in the systems. We want to create balance in the system so that we're able to heal, adapt, and be functioning at an optimal state. Another huge one that I believe in is physical activity. Exercise is so important in training the nervous systems to switch on and off. When you exercise, you go into a state of sympathetics, and then your recovery from that exercise is forcing that nervous system to come out and be in a parasympathetic state. So it's a way of training those nervous systems to fluctuate and turn on and off. Obviously, proper nutrition for your body is incredibly important. We need to nourish our nervous system. We need to nourish our body. We also need to focus on changing our state of mind, having more positive mindset, thinking more in the present time rather than in the future and in the past. We need to limit traumas, so working on proper ergonomics, lifting mechanics, all of that. We also need to limit our toxins. So try consuming and using products that are less toxic for our body.
Technology is supposed to make everything easier for us and reduce stress. But in your opinion, is technology increasing or decreasing the amount of stress that you're seeing in people?
Technology is a huge stressor in our life, even from the way in which we use technology, where we are holding our phones in our hands and our head is down in a flexed position. This is causing a trauma to the entire body. The radiation that's given off on technology is huge. It's a chemical toxin right there. And then also technology and social media, that could be considered a thought, that we are constantly comparing ourselves to other people on social media and seeing other people live the life that we potentially want. So absolutely, technology has a detrimental effect on our lives and our health and our systems.
It used to be that when you left work, you were gone from work. Mm-hmm. No contact. Now we seem like we're in constant contact. There's the email all the time. You mentioned the social media. And, I think what a lot of people tend to forget is these Instagram stars, these Instagram celebrities, they're only putting the best of themselves out there, mm-hmm. not their day-to-day routine when they look like shit.
Yep.
So people think that that's what their average life is like, and that is starting to stress people out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's something that I think that we have to train ourselves internally on, is understanding that nobody's life is perfect. Focusing on yourself is huge. Being more absorbed in your health, what you're doing with your life to make it its best, I think is so important.
What do you think some of the worst toxins are? Now, is it in the chemicals that we're using, or is it in the chemicals that we're eating? And if so, for nutrition, how important is it to get that organic produce versus the non-organic produce? Or is it eat what you can, that's as healthy as you can and stay away from things like processed foods.
Absolutely. I'm a huge believer in avoiding processed foods as much as possible. I have a strong belief that fresh fruits and vegetables are mandatory in your diet.
Does it matter that if they're organic or inorganic?
I mean, there's lists of foods that are 100% you should be buying organic, and lists of foods that you could get away with not buying organic. It's all dependent on the skin or the coating of the food itself, whether or not those pesticides are going to affect your food. Organic is definitely the better choice, in my opinion, because you're getting more of a natural pesticide. You're still getting a pesticide, but it's a more natural pesticide. But you're also being exposed more to natural bacteria and stuff that will actually stimulate your immune system. And it's quite good to encounter those things, and it builds your immunity and whatnot. Whereas if you're eating an inorganic food, you don't get that same exposure.
For those of the listeners that aren't into chiropractic and haven't got adjusted, how did these three traumas, or the four traumas, come together, and how did those relate to your practice? What do these stressors actually do to the body that you can assist with when they get a chiropractic adjustment?
As chiropractors, we work with the brain and the nervous system through the bones of the spine. Now, it's really important that the spine moves properly in order for our brain to properly communicate down our spinal cord and out through nerves to every aspect of the body. When we lose the motion of the spine, we actually lose or have an interference between brain-body connection. The brain is not getting the proper signals from the body up the spinal cord to the brain, and so in return, the brain isn't sending the proper signals down the spinal cord to the body. So when we encounter thoughts, traumas, and toxins, this is what actually cause subluxations, which is this lack of brain-to-body communication.
And just to go over this point again, does that mean that when you're subluxated, the spine is not aligned?
I wouldn't necessarily say misaligned or out of place, but what happens is they're just not moving how they're supposed to. So without that movement, it alters the information coming into the body to the brain, and then vice versa, the brain to the body.
A lot of people are terrified to go to the chiropractor, especially since you crack bones. You get that pop when you make the adjustment. I know you're chomping at the bit at this one.
Totally.
What is the pop?
Absolutely. The pop is something not to fear. So every joint in our body has a range of motion. We actually hit that range of motion on our own when we're doing active range of motion. We're moving the joints ourselves, but we actually can go past that range of motion, and this is called your periarticular range of motion. And when we don't have proper movement in these joints, gas builds up. It's a nitrogenous gas. And when we do the adjustment, we're actually taking that joint past that active range of motion into this periarticular space. And that gas, it's putting a fast stretch on that joint capsule. And it's actually allowing that gas to release. So
kind of like when people crack their knuckles, you get that pop sound,
yeah.
And you're not dislocating your knuckles, You're not dislocating your fingers, and you're getting that sound.
And it's not the bone at all. It's just gas within that joint being released.
All right, Jamie. So let's say I'm walking into your office for the first time. I'm subluxated. I'm obviously stressed out. What's your approach as a chiropractor to identifying the things that are stressing me out and giving me this subluxation?
The initial assessment is very important. Every body is different, and it reacts to different stressors in different ways. So understanding what in your life specifically is causing those stressors is incredibly important. And a big thing is building that rapport with that person, making them feel comfortable that they can actually share that stuff with me. It could be that they are worried about their marriage. They are worried about their financial situation. These are things that if we're able to recognize them and understand them, we can deal with it. As a chiropractor, my job is to detect and correct subluxation, but I also am invested in your health, and I want to make sure that you're getting the care that you require. And if that takes working with you in a sense of we need to break down these barriers and understand what's causing the stress, I'm willing to do that with you.
So what if you had a patient that can't remove a certain stressor, whether it be, maybe it's a family member that's sick, and obviously you can't pull that away. They can't pull that person away from the family member. But what would be your best approach? Do you just take care of things as much as possible to reduce as many symptoms as you can?
Absolutely. I'm a big believer that, we can try to change lifestyle, but at the same time, people are going to do what they're going to do anyways. So by getting adjusted, having your body free of interference of the nervous system, it's going to automatically start to heal better and to adapt better and have a higher threshold to those thoughts, traumas, toxins that are in your everyday life.
How important is it for someone in your position to refer out to other people? You mentioned the personal training, or, limit toxins, so maybe sending them to a nutritionist. How important is that in their overall health?
So important. I'm a huge believer in referring out and staying within your scope. Like I said, as a chiropractor, I detect and correct subluxation. That is all I do. I'm going to send you to the experts. If you need a personal trainer, I'm going to send you to a personal trainer who knows what they're doing. If you need a naturopath or a nutritionist, I'm going to send you there. If you need a massage therapist, acupuncturist, I'm going to find you the best one.
Looking forward, when you're done this internship, what plans do you have?
I am actually going to be heading down to Calgary to open my own practice.
Boo.
Go Flames. I'm just kidding. I'm an Oilers fan.
No. What kind of specialty are you going to be focusing on?
So I am an upper cervical specific chiropractor. This means that I focus on the top two bones of the spine. This is exactly where the extension of the brain, known as the brainstem, is housed. And the brainstem is responsible for your autonomic nervous system. It is where your breathing center is. It's where your heart rate center is. It literally controls every function. And so if I can affect that center of the nervous system directly, I'm going to be able to help you better.
So make sure, if any of you guys are listening out in Calgary, when are you opening up your own practice down there?
Projection is for June 2020, but everybody knows how that goes. So
things take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So if somebody's looking to reach out to you on social media, if they've got questions about these 3 T's, if they've got questions about chiropractic, where can they reach out to you?
You can reach out to me on either my personal Instagram account, which is LaingJ, LAINGJ, or I have my chiropractic account as well, which is more specific and geared towards my practice. And this one is called Laing Chiro. I'm just going to pull it up. So it's Laing, LAING _ Chiro, CHIRO.
So make sure to reach out to Jamie if you've got any questions on those 3 T's or on chiropractic. Thank you for joining us on Performance Theory, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Please share this podcast and make sure you subscribed, because a bunch of you are listening. Haven't passed it on to your friends. Find me on social media at Mike Clark Life on all major platforms, or visit MikeClarkLife.com.